I was born in Czechoslovakia, in a quite big town for Czechoslovakia called Ostrava. It used to have about 350,000 to 400,000 people. It's in the middle section of Moravia, north of it, very close to Polish border. It's a very industrial city, heavy industry, coal mines, metallurgical works, and the pollution over there is quite heavy.
Ivan grew up in this apartment house, which lies in easy walking distance from the tennis courts of the club that Lendl still belongs to.
I started playing tennis in Ostrava, in my parents' club, where they belonged to. My mother used to play on the team. My father was on the board of the club, and he was captain of the tennis team at times. And
Ivanovi začátky začaly vlastně tak nějak přirozenou cestou. On od malička se pohyboval na tenise a
Ivan got started in a very natural way. He'd always be with me, and so he'd always watch me prepare for my sport. So even before he realized what it meant, he would see what I did and what I had to do for tennis. And this, in fact, gave him a big edge over some of his opponents who weren't growing up in sport-oriented families and who had to struggle to acquire these habits that Ivan just grew up with.
As every young boy or kid, I always had my dreams, and we would watch a Davis Cup match, and after we would go and play, and one was the opposing player, the other one was hometown or home team player. Then we would watch Wimbledon, and somebody would be Laver, next would be a Newcomb or Roach or Oswald. And we had a lot of fun that way, and kept our dreams going, and at the same time we became better players by watching and then trying what we saw on TV. My mother used to play still competitively when I was very young, and she would always bring me in the afternoon to the club so she could practice, and I would be on my own over there. But the clubs in Czechoslovakia are not like country clubs here. It's just really the tennis courts and the clubhouse. So what I would do is I would have a wooden paddle. I would try to hit against the wall. When I was younger, I had a cut-off racket, and I was hanging around the coach who was coaching the young kids, and in the evening he usually would feel sorry for me and hit with me some, and then I was old enough to be on his team, and he was working on my game.
I've known Ivan Lendl since his childhood from the tennis club in Ostrava, where I've been a member for many years. When he was 13, he entered my training unit along with other promising young talents. I coached him until he got to be 18, or rather almost 19 years of age. The qualities that make Lendl the best tennis player in the world right now are, in my opinion, the passion with which he trains, his discipline, his mental discipline, his self-control, and then also the fact that he always, even when he was quite young, did without the usual good times of teenagers, some of which he never even got to know about, because he gave his everything to tennis, and to tennis again, and to school.
I know Ivan Lendl. First time I meet him in Ostrava when he was a ball boy during Czechoslovak tennis championships. And I think he was pretty good because he became from tennis family. His mother was a mixed doubles champion of Czechoslovakia, and I remember him. He was a tall guy, which was close to the post, and always because I was ball boy in my time, he was there because someone was sure that he can make any mistakes during the important matches.
This is Ivan's first television interview. The show is called The Club of Youth, and it's the sort of show where the announcer hits the ball around with Ivan for a minute, then rushes over to him, gasping for breath, starts asking questions.
Já ti dám ten pohár, ten pochopitelně nepatří mi, ale tobě. Chtěl bych se tě zeptat, kde jsi ho získal?
The cheap-looking trophy, Ivan explains with shy pride, is the Orange Bowl, which he just won in Miami Beach, Florida, beating 64 boys from 31 countries. The year is 1976, and Ivan is 16 years of age and on the verge of becoming a Czech celebrity. Tennis has started bouncing him all over Europe, and he lists all the places where he has played. The experts have started analyzing his strokes with charts and diagrams, and they had advised him to change his forehand grip. He has tried it and decided to go back to his old, slightly flawed stroke. His life is now revolving only around tennis. How are your training conditions? The announcer asks him. I play every day, says Ivan, 2 to 3 hours, in addition to which we also do purely physical conditioning 3 or 4 times a week, and the training conditions here are excellent. How are things in school? The announcer wants to know. Well, says Ivan, it's not going so great in school because there's a lot of missed hours to make up. I missed about 300 hours in the last semester, but I got 7 B's and 6 A's on my last report card. But don't you ever cut school? Don't you sometimes take advantage of all this? No, I sure don't, says Ivan. I'd only be cheating myself that way because I'd merely have more stuff to catch up on and then more studying to do. And there's plenty of it as it is. In 1978, the Czech Tennis Championship took place on Ivan's home courts in Ostrava. Here he's playing the man who has dominated Czech tennis for the past decade and who was put on the map by winning the Wimbledon and the French Open. Ivan has once been a ball boy for Jan Kotiš, but Kotiš has turned 33, and Ivan has just started working on his new backhand.
You have to give yourself small, reachable goals, because I find it, at least with myself, it works the best, because once I achieve a goal, it gives me encouragement to work harder and set myself a new goal. When I was young and I started playing, I always wanted to win, and I was playing on junior teams. We were trying to win those, then I was trying to win the under-12s, under-14s. In Czechoslovakia, then my goal was to become a member of the first team, then the Davis Cup team, make it on the tour at the same time. And once I got to the Pro Tour, I was looking to break into top 50 in 2010, and then try to become as good as I could, and eventually see if I can become #1.
There was one last goal Ivan could set for himself in Czechoslovakia, winning the Davis Cup for his country. But first he had to put more topspin on his backhand.
Until about 18 years of age, I was using forehand grip for my backhand, and I had trouble getting over the ball and generating any power. Then I switched. Therefore, I had to put a lot of work into it, and in practice, I would hit it, and in the matches, it was not that good, and then all of a sudden one day I woke up and I was hitting it in the matches just like I was in practice.
A question on Ivan Lendl, if it's quite sufficient for him for his happiness to play tennis?
Nestačí mi to.
In 1980, Czechoslovakia won the Davis Cup, beating Italy in the finals 4-1. It was carried through the contest by Ivan Lendl, who was just completing his military service.
Jsem velmi rád, že během dnešního velkého dne,
Ivan gave his last interview to Czech television on the day when he beat McEnroe for the first time in the French Open. The time is the spring of 1981.
Zároveň McEnroe. Tady máš jedno? Ještě speciálně ty dlouhý, jo? Ještě jedno. A i s jménem to máš.
He still had to work on his second serve, but there was nothing left to conquer at home. The time had come to pack up and move on to the world of trophies you had to lift with both hands, helicopters, tax shelters, nutritionists, and TV interviews on Sunday afternoon.